Welcome to the Butterfly Effect. I'm Garrett Horner. This is stage 20 of the Vuelta a España. It's the last mountain stage. It's brought to you by Lupine Lights. Lupine Lights, the finest lights I've ridden throughout my career, and I've been riding them since 2019. With the ability to use Bluetooth connectivity, you can change the settings anywhere on your person. And with the app on your phone, you can change the amount of headlights you're using so you can use the exact amount of battery life you need. If you're looking to save 24% on your next order of Lupine Lights, make sure you use the code LupineLights24. But you better use it soon because September 9th, the code is over. So after this weekend, it's done and dusted. Make sure you go to Lupine Lights and use the code real soon. Now, getting into today's stage 20, what do we got looking forward to? I told you it's the last mountain stage. They don't have one climb, not two climbs, not three climbs, but they have 7 climbs on today's 170 kilometer stage, about 110 miles in length, with a summit finish of 8 kilometers at over 9%. It's going to be the queen stage. There's no doubt about it when you're coming into today's race. Primoz Roglic has the race leader's red jersey, but Ben O'Connor is at about 154, 155 back from Primoz Roglic, and there's a lot of battling for second, third, and fourth. And then, of course, there's battling for the white jersey when we're talking Skilmos and Lipovitz back there, having to fight with them, and they can move up on the top 10 of the general classification. Mikel Landa, he's had a bad mountain stage here at the Vuelta a España, but he's going to want to try to win today's stage too. There's no doubt about it. And if you listened to me yesterday on the Butterfly Effect, I said there's no way this is going to be a battle for the breakaway in today's race because the GC guys and some teams always chase for sure. That was my words to you before you went to bed last night. So let's hit kilometer 0 and see what happens. Right away, we start seeing attacking. It's Pseudo Quick Step up there throwing in some attacks with DSM. Then we're going to see Kern Pharma get involved. That's Barade. Barade won a stage here already at the Vuelta a España, and he's trying to get in the early breakaway, but that's all brought back, and then we see 10 riders going up the road. It's the Solarism up there, and it's Jay Vine out of this group of 10. AG2R have Clement Berth up there, so they're very invested in this breakaway. They believe something can happen, or they're sending a satellite rider up the road in case Ben O'Connor needs some help later in the mountains here. Well, once that group of 10 starts going up the road, they'll go up over the first of the KOM. We'll see Jay Vine grab maximum points. Now, when we started today's race, the KOM jersey was on Soler, his teammate's shoulder. But there's no sprint up there for the first KOM, which tells me that UAE team members don't care which one of their teammates have it. And if they have a small preference, it's going to go to Jay Vine because there was no sprint going over the first one. We go up over the second climb, and then we see Jay Vine get some more KOM points. This is going to start buffering his lead there on Soler, who's not even getting second place points because he's not interested in it. There is no fight. Whatever you've been listening to from the commentators, it doesn't exist here on UAE team members. They're in harmony. Now we go back and look at the peloton as the gap had started getting up to 5 minutes. If I back it all the way up to the beginning of the stage, Patrick Gamper was having some problems early in the stage and was coming out the back on the first hard start to today's race. I told you there were 7 climbs, but it started with a 2.5 kilometer climb to begin with. Patrick Gamper was at the back. Then we saw Vlasov at the back early in today's stage. Then we saw him ride in the front setting tempo, so that tells us that he's got some bad legs. But what is it telling us when we've seen 2 Bora Hansgrohe rider already at the back of the peloton early in this stage 20 here at the Vuelta a España? Well, we start getting a little bit deeper, and then all of a sudden we see that Ineos start jumping on the front. Ineos are getting ready to play the card of Carlos Rodriguez. There's nothing wrong with this as long as Carlos Rodriguez says, my legs feel good at this moment. Nobody's a knucklehead because, as I told you on yesterday's stage, it's a Hail Mary stage. It's the last mountain stage. This is all you can do. Throw all your chips in. There's no reason to save energy and let a breakaway go up the road that has 5 minutes. So Ineos are drilling it up the climb, and they're drilling it down the descent. We start getting into 104 kilometers to go as Danny Martinez from Bora Hansgrohe now having some problems, and followed shortly after him, it's going to be Vlasov at the back of the peloton getting dropped too. That means Bora Hansgrohe have something going on in their team when you're sitting on the Chesterfield. There's no doubt about it because you don't see Vlasov and Danny Martinez getting dropped this early. Patrick Gamper and Nico Denz are a little bit more MIA at this point in time in the race, but with 4 guys having problems on Bora Hansgrohe, the first 2, okay, they're not climbers. The second 2, though, this is something's happening. Now, I'm thinking, is it going to affect Primoz Roglic? We look up there with Ineos drilling it everywhere. Primoz Roglic still has 3 teammates wrapped around them. Giovanni's there, Roger Adria's there, and of course, we see Lipovitz, who's in the top 10 of the general classification, and a chance for the white jersey on today's stage 20. With 4 riders from Bora, Primoz Roglic is still in a good spot, but I'm still a bit worried for the Slovenian because something always seems to happen to him, right? It's either bad tactics, bad luck, crashes, something always comes up, and now I'm thinking, wow, if there's sickness going through the team, Primoz Roglic is going to have a hard day here when we still have 5 more passes to go. Up front, we're going to see Soler attacking again on the 3rd climb, but he gets wrapped up. Then we see Jay Vine go over the top for some more maximum points. They drop down the descent, and then when we start coming into the next climb, Soler's going solo. Okay, my timing could be a little bit off here because Soler was going attacks left and right all over the place. It's the Solerism. I could call him a knucklehead, but it's the Solerism. So what else am I going to say? Soler's going solo. I don't know why. They had a big gap. They got Ineos chasing full gas, and then shortly after Ineos were chasing full gas down the descent, just blowing up the field, as you can see. Soudal Quickstep's going to get on the front. They're going to start drilling it too. So why Soler wants to be going solo with so many climbs and so much distance still left in today's stage 20 of the Vuelta a España is beyond me, because when you look at the break, yes, it's getting smaller. We got 4 guys back there, one sitting on because that's Jay Vine. Then we got Frigo, Clement Berth is back there, and Castrillo is back there from Kern Farmer. So we have 4 guys chasing one Soler. Soler is going to get caught on the descent. We're going to hit the 5th climb. Soler is going to tack almost the minute he was caught. Once the climb starts proper, Soler is going solo again. There's chaos happening all over the place. UAE team members are causing it. These guys are all knuckleheads. I don't care if it's the Solerism effect or not. This doesn't make any sense. When we look at Soudal Quickstep back there going full gas, and the peloton's down to about 50 riders, 60 riders. It's going full gas back there. Soudal Quickstep's throwing everything into it with 4 guys on the front, trying to bring this break back, trying to launch Mikel Landa up the road at some point in time, and this is a great tactic. It's the Hail Mary. Carlos Rodriguez tried it with Ineos. Once their team slowed up a little bit, it's time for Soudal Quickstep. So they've got the same MO. Hail Mary stage 20 here, the Vuelta a España. Now we're coming into the penultimate climb. Soler's been caught at the bottom. As we come into the climb, Soler pulls off hard to the right. Now Jay Vine's got to go to work, and once Jay Vine starts going to work, we see Soler being done. Pablo Castrillo's coming out the back, and then we see Frigo out the back. That leaves 2 guys in the front, Clement Berth and Jay Vine, trying to hold off the peloton, Soudal Quickstep. But their gap's down to about a minute. When Soudal Quickstep hits this climb, they got Billy Lesurf on the front, and they got Matteo Cattaneo sitting second, followed by Mikel Landa and Bora Hansgrohe just behind them. As they start going full gas up the climb, we're going to see all of a sudden that Cattaneo is throwing in a huge acceleration after Billy Lesurf pulled off the front. With the speed of Cattaneo, he's got Mikel Landa on his wheel and 3 Bora Hansgrohe. Then there's a split from all the GC favorites back there as AG2R's Ben O'Connor's Felix Gall's teammates trying to close the gap. AG2R doing everything they can to pull it back. Then we start looking up at the front. Roger Adair blows. As he blows, Lipovic closes the gap. Now we got 4 in front. Cattaneo, Landa, Lipovic, and Primoz Roglic holding off the favorites back there. All of the breakaway guys are starting to get brought back, but Jay Vine's still at the front with Clement Berth, but the gap is getting minimal. Now we see AG2R pulling the gap back to bring it back up to Primoz Roglic. We got about 13 riders in this front group, but when we look back, we see Carlos Rodriguez. Ineos has starting to blow here. He's got no teammates around him, and the gap is getting ginormous to the front group of GC favorites. The camera moves up forward there with the motorcycle passing the dropped riders, and we come up to Skilmos. Skilmos, Lidl Trek rider. He's got the white jersey on. He's trying to win the youth classification here, sitting top 10 in the general classification, but up the road is Lipovic. But Skilmos has a little bit of help because Verona is in front of him from Lidl Trek with his teammate up there going everything he can on the pedals to try to close this gap for Skilmos. Verona will blow. Skilmos will be left there trying to close the gap himself. Once we come up to the front there, we're coming just under 7.5 kilometers to go, and we look right there. That's Jay Vine looking over his shoulder. He can see the peloton GC favorites coming. UAE team members and Clement Berth are just about to get caught. They'll get wrapped up at about 6.2 kilometers to go, and Skilmos made it onto the back of the GC favorites group here to salvage the white jersey. He did tempo the whole time. Fantastic work from Skilmos. As we start looking at this group, it's about 15 riders. Primoz Roglic is there, Landa is there, Moss is there, Roglic, Ben, Felix Gall is there, Godu is there. Eddie Dunbar from Jaco Lula has made the front group. Sivakov is there. Then we see Roger Adria there. Yurko Barade's in this group. Kern Pharma has made the front group. It's about 15 riders strong, maybe a little more, maybe a little bit less. It's been a difficult stage, but it's all together, and the stage wins up for grab, plus the GC, plus the white jersey is up for grabs. Then we start seeing, with just about halfway up this climb, we'll call it 30 kilometers to go, Sivakov throws in attack. As I'm sitting on the Chesterfield, I'm thinking, Landa, you got to go with this move. Sivakov is sitting 10th on the general classification, but far down from Primoz Roglic, so he's going to be given a leash. Landa, the same thing is what I'm thinking, and right as I thought it, Landa's throwing in attack up the left side, but Bora Hansgrohe's all over the pseudo quick-step rider's back wheel there to hold Landa from being able to go across the gap to Sivakov. Once Landa's wrapped up, Bora Hansgrohe start riding some tempo on the front. Not big tempo. They got Roger riding. Lipovitz is sitting second wheel. Primoz Roglic is in this front group, of course. That's why they're riding tempo. But they're allowing the leash to get a little bit further out there, the 30 seconds. As they start reaching the top, Sivakov's going over the top here of the penultimate category climb here, number 6. Sivakov goes over with about a 30-40 second gap. And then the UAE Team Emirates rider is going to have to go solo down the descent through the valley and hold off the peloton. What's happening back there? Bora Hansgrohe is allowing the leash to get a little bit longer, up to about 1 minute and 10 seconds. Then pseudo quick steps. Mikel Landa, oh man, does he have some teammates. It's Cattaneo has come back from the dead, and Billy Lesurf is on the front. With Billy Lesurf and Cattaneo there, the gap was at about 1 minute and 10 seconds, but they're pulling through the valley. They're trying to give Mikel Landa a shot at winning the stage. As pseudo quick steps throwing everything into it, we're coming into 8 kilometers to go, and Sivakov starting the final climb here with about a minute gap, minute gap, 50-second gap on the group behind. We see pseudo quick steps coming out of this turn. Billy Lesurf blows. Matteo Cattaneo's on the front, but just for a moment, as we see Roger Adria there, gave the look over there to Primoz Roglic. Primoz Roglic must have given him the nod, so Roger goes to work with Primoz Roglic on his wheel. He's stretching out the GC groups, and any of the dead guys are falling off the back here as we start seeing it's a select group of GC favorites. But everyone in the top 10's there, minus, of course, Carlos Rodriguez, who got dropped on the penultimate climb and is still back there someplace in nowhere land. With Roger there going full gas, he blows about 1.5 K into the climb, and Primoz Roglic goes to work at the front of the peloton. He starts stretching it out. We see Skilmos and Lipovitz at the back as they're coming through the crowds. Lipovitz is going to find his way back up to the front there, move into the first position with Primoz Roglic just on his wheel, and the white jersey dangling on the back of the group here. We'll call it 12, 13 riders, but Kern Pharma is still holding on here for Barati. As we see this group going up to the front with Lipovitz pulling it, then all of a sudden we're going to see the attack from Eddie Dunbar. Eddie Dunbar throws in massive acceleration with 5 kilometers to go. Fantastic tactical move at this moment, but he's got to make up 45 seconds to Sivakov from UAE Team Emirates. As Sivakov's up there throwing everything he can, with Dunbar's following behind trying to make up time. He is making up time, but then what's happening in the back of the group there? Carapaz has done some chasing, but he's got a gap up there to Primoz Roglic. We look further back, it's starting to blow up. Ben O'Connor's got a split back there, but he's got Felix Gall trying to save the day. We come into about 3.7 kilometers to go. Sivakov's got a small gap. Then we see Eddie Dunbar. After Eddie Dunbar, we see Godu in a group of 4 there. That's Primoz Roglic, Moss, and Carapaz is in this group. The next group coming through is going to be Landa on his own, trying to make it across up to Primoz Roglic's group. Then behind Landa, we see it's the duo of their AG2R. That's Felix Gall and Ben O'Connor trying to rescue a podium position and a second place on the general classification. Behind those 2 riders, we got Barate back there in nowhere land, and then Skilmos is chasing Barate. All these groups here are chasing each other, but they're all just split up with about a 2-second, 3-second gap at the most. But when we start looking up front, all of a sudden, Eddie Dunbar is starting to wrap up Sivakov. As Sivakov's getting wrapped up, Barate is wrapped up the back of the peloton there. Felix Gall's made it back on. Ben O'Connor's made it back on with Felix Gall, and all the GC guys are intact. As Barate's made it to the back of the peloton, he knows right now there's a bit of a hesitation, so the Kern Pharma rider throws in attack. Once he throws in attack, he's got David Gaudu from FDJ going with him, and those two riders are trying to bridge up. As we look up front, though, Eddie Dunbar looks back over his shoulder. He sees right now Sivakov's coming off, so Eddie Dunbar, Jaco Lula's got to go solo because the GC favorites are starting to attack back there with Bora pulling full gas, and now with Gaudu on the front going full gas. Gaudu starts to drop Bora drops back, and then the GC guys start blowing up back there. Primoz Roglic is drilling it. Moss was on the front, splitting it. Carapaz has been hurting, but finding his way back up. We see Barade's getting wrapped back up, but Ben O'Connor's come off too, and Felix Gall saving the day again for AG2R. How has AG2R done it throughout this Vuelta a España? It seems like every time Ben O'Connor's been in trouble, someone has saved the day. I've seen Clement Burr save the day. I've seen, of course, Perepintre save the day. Felix Gall has saved the day. I saw Victor Lafay save the day throughout this Vuelta a España. It's amazing the kind of teammates that AG2R have around Ben O'Connor, and he's going to need all of them. As we go up front, we see Eddie Dunbar. He's riding solo up front. He's starting to suffer, though, as the climb keeps getting steeper and steeper. Then Gaudu gets wrapped up. As Gaudu gets wrapped up, we're coming into about 1 kilometer to go, and Felix Gall and Ben O'Connor have made it onto the back of the group again of GC favorites. We come into about 900 meters to go, and we'll see up front that there goes Mikel Landa. As they were going through the crosswind section, it was Primoz Roglic on the front. Mikel Landa threw in attack through the crosswind section on the left side. Great tactical move, but he's starting to blow with about 600 meters to go. As he starts to blow, Eddie Dunbar looks back over his shoulder. The Jaco Lula rider better find something quick. As he does, he's going through the crowd, and then the next rider coming up is going to be Moss, as Landa blew back there. Once Moss is coming up through the crowd, he's got about a 10-15 second gap to make up on Eddie Dunbar, who's having a phenomenal stage 20 here of the Vuelta a España for Jaco Lula. He comes up to the last 300 meters. He looks over his shoulder, rounds the bend. Once he comes out of the bend, he's got 25 meters to go. Sits up. It's time to celebrate with a punch to the sky, then a tap on the jersey there for congratulations there and a thank you to the Jaco Lula team that brought him on here. He'll cross the line, win stage 20, his second stage victory here at the Vuelta a España. What's happening behind? Moss is coming across the line for second, about 7 seconds, 10 seconds back. Primoz Roglic hot on his heel, and then all the GC favorites will come through one at a time, with Ben O'Connor doing a fine ride here to save his second place on the general classification, only losing about 14 seconds. In fact, everyone in the top 10 did a fantastic ride in today's stage 20. Only Carlos Rodriguez from Team Ineos really suffered on today's stage. Everyone else magnificent. The last climb, everyone was blowing up. AG2R's Felix Gall, tip of the hat. You were salvaged it here for Ben O'Connor to keep second on the general classification. And Primoz Roglic, of course, even with his teammates being sick at today's race and lieutenants like Vlasov and Danny Martinez being sick, Primoz Roglic still holds on to the race leader's red jersey here at the Vuelta a España. Afterwards, he says the race isn't over. Well, he's got about a 2-minute lead on Ben O'Connor, so it looks pretty close to that with just the individual time trial in tomorrow's stage 21 of the Vuelta a España. But we do have a very good battle between Ben O'Connor and Moss there for second and third on the general classification. So there's still much more to look forward to here at the Vuelta a España. And remember, if Primoz Roglic gets sick overnight, if it's just waited a little bit longer to affect the Slovenian's legs, he might not be that good in tomorrow's individual time trial. So there could see a battle for the race leader's red jersey. And let me remind you guys, Primoz Roglic has not won a Grand Tour without winning an individual time trial. So will he get sick tonight? Can he win tomorrow's individual time trial? If he does, that's 4 stage victories. If he doesn't win the individual time trial, it'll be the first Grand Tour he's ever taken without winning one. So there's a lot of question marks to look forward to in tomorrow's stage 20. Hopefully luck is on the side with Primoz Roglic after illness has passed through his team. Hopefully it's not affecting him tonight. And we see the Slovenian take a race leader's red jersey to add the 4th victory of Vuelta a España to his record. 19, 20, and 21, and now 24. Magnificent run for the Slovenian if he pulls it off after tomorrow's stage 21. Like and subscribe. I'll see you guys for the next edition real soon.